Hello, my name is Marta Stratskas. Today is May 26, 2025. So, about my background. I was born and raised in Tallinn, Estonia. I have completed a master's degree in painting at the Estonian Academy of Arts. After graduating, I had the opportunity to do Erasmus internship in Berlin. Soon after the internship ended, I wanted to move there for a longer period because I felt that I needed to experience this city more and I still had a lot to discover. And even though I didn't speak German at that time, I still felt very natural there. How does this affect my worldview and art creation? The period of studying in Estonian Academy of Arts was definitely one of the most important times in my development as an artist. I received strong training, knowledge, and skills from there. And of course, the time of studying is also when important relationships and soulmates are formed. Some of the relationships have survived even now, almost 10 years later, so very grateful for that. So, my upbringing. I grew up in a family of artists. My parents are jewelry designers and my sister is a sculptor. And I think that is the first input for my development as an artist. I was surrounded by art books and creative atmosphere from the ground up. My favorite activity was naturally drawing and painting. I remember building castles and different worlds for my dolls from various random materials. And it was the time when books became the material for them. Some of my favorite books were ancient Greek mythologies. Firstly, stories were very interesting and passionate, and I especially liked the illustrations. I started to draw my own worlds and stories from them. My favorite motifs were, of course, the kidnapping and rescuing of a beautiful princess and defeating monsters. Another favorite genre was definitely fairy tales. I remember I had a book of fairy tales by the Brothers Grimm, where the illustrations were over 2 pages long and they were so multifaceted as if the entire story was placed on one picture. And the story was usually the hero's journey through dark forest, chance meeting with the most beautiful princess, some fateful accident or conflict that required the hero to overcome himself, fight against evil. But as a result, the loving couple lived beyond the 7 lands and seas forever and ever. Another author I was fascinated by was Hans Christian Andersen, whose fairy tales were often so strange that I probably didn't understand them with my mind at the time, but nevertheless they were very captivating. I especially remember the fairy tale about 11 brothers who were turned into swans by evil witch, and their sister had to knit them jackets from nettles in a certain short period of time to save them. So the sister knitted with blood on her fingers and was weak when the spare cover of the last jacket was not ready or didn't get ready because of this, and one of the king's sons were left with one wing. But I guess this fairy tale also had a happy or more or less happy ending. So I think that all these stories have had very strong influence on my work. Simply put, fight between good and evil, borderline situation, human development, hero's journey, life and death, becoming a human, and what are the different stages on a person's timeline, analyzing, understanding, and replaying new information in childhood through my drawings and sketches became the way to understand the world and how it works. So, in my early teens, I discovered the Gothic subculture and fell in love with the writers like H.P. Lovecraft, Edgar Allan Poe, Ray Bradbury, and so on. So I think I've always been romantic at heart, and that's why this transition felt natural to me. My biggest influences. It's hard to pick a single favorite artist because there's so many and my preferences shift over time. Had shifted over time. But from classical art, I would definitely name El Greco, Caravaggio, and Fra Angelico. I'm also deeply drawn to Goya's darker period. The way he depicted madness and horror left a lasting impression on me. From there, Otto Dix became a powerful influence. I remember finding a book of his works as a child, and it frightened me so much that I hid it under my bed. But eventually, I would gather the courage to take it out again, peeking with one eye closed, terrified, yet very fascinated. And of course, Hieronymus Bosch, how his depictions of hell, suffering, and monsters still captivate me. I think it's natural for a child to, at some point, become aware of evil, the sense its existence, and want to understand where it comes from and why it exists. Yeah. So in terms of contemporary art, Ansel Kiefer definitely stands out. I remember the first time I saw one of his books, I was struck by its sheer power. I thought to myself, if I could ever create something that awe-inspiring, I would feel like I had fulfilled my purpose as an artist. But more broadly, my biggest influences come from my surroundings. Music plays a crucial role, definitely, so does the general state of the world. Different books I'm reading at the moment, even the weather. I'm naturally more melancholic, so I've noticed that my creativity tends to thrive more in autumn and winter, when it's dark or snowing or raining and it's warm and cozy indoors. So these seasons tend to draw me more inward, which is good. The darker and bleaker the atmosphere, the better. And of course, my personal life, its events and relationships in all their complexity and simplicity has shaped my perspective in countless ways. So I am currently preparing for new exhibitions that will be coming up in the fall and winter. And at this stage, I'm gathering materials, reading, sketching, exploring new ideas. So I usually work in series, And I usually like to do several paintings at once. So while doing one painting, I get an idea of how to proceed with the next painting and how they will eventually form a whole, a unity. And this process is mostly unpredictable, and that is why it is interesting and challenging, but yet usually satisfying in the end. The biggest challenge of being an artist. I think one challenge is definitely maintaining faith in ideas. Often I get excited about idea and I have a solid plan, but after a while I wonder if it's the right one, and that requires discipline and consistency. Even if the original idea doesn't excite me as much, a few weeks later I still have to finish it because I can't be excited all the time. Besides, as a rule, something completely new and more interesting always grows out of the original plan. Not always, but often. So my advice to my younger self would be stay determined and don't let doubts get under your skin. Approach your work with focus and dedication. Don't obsess over the end result. It's often unpredictable, but that's the part that makes the journey meaningful. If everything were certain and predictable, then the whole process would be a lot less interesting. About unconventional mediums, I have used various unconventional materials in my paintings. I once tried painting with industrial toxic paints, so the result was very, very good, but the result was also that I got badly poisoned every time. And also, when I was younger, I tried to achieve this kefir-like effect in my paintings by mixing together different building materials, plaster, sand, and so on. But lately I try to stay true to the conventional mediums. About music, so as I said, music has played a very important role in my creation. Maybe one of the most important role, I would even say. I've gone through many different phases, listening to everything from classical music to heavy industrial rock to ambient, witch house, techno, of course. It's been a major source of inspiration during different creative periods. But that said, I've also have worked a lot in silence. Music is good for getting the initial impulse, but sometimes it starts to dominate too much and interferes with concentration. I have listened to music more when the idea is ready and I know how to continue the work, more of technical side. But when transferring the original idea to the canvas, I prefer complete silence or background of nature sounds, actually. Funny thing, over the years, the sounds of tropical thunder rain have become my particular favorite. It's quiet enough that you don't notice it, but it's still very present. The sounds of rain are always pleasant. They help me go into my inner cosmos more, which is good. So, the best reaction someone has had to my artwork. I have had many pleasant reactions, but perhaps the most memorable is when people have found my paintings to have a sacred effect. That is a very big compliment. What do I hope people take away from my artwork? Well, I hope they find a place to meet me, because I believe art should bring like-minded people closer together and awake new ideas and conversations and maybe solutions to certain topics.